You guys remember whenever Puss in Boots: The Last Wish came out, and everyone was talking about how DreamWorks is basically changing the game and bringing the company to a brand new era of style, animation, storytelling, and overall success? Yeah, that only really applied to Puss in Boots 2, because just like DreamWorks as it is now is basically as it was back then. I've grown up with this company to know that they are always inconsistent, no matter what they make. I've grown up with the studio 1 minute making something like Rise of the Guardians, and then the Croods the next. Because just like after Puss in Boots, we had Ruby Gillman, which is fine on its own. It's a cute whatever movie, but it's the most predictable story imaginable, and it was a massive bomb at the box office. Like, I bet you don't even remember that movie came out last year. Then last year, Trolls Band Together came out, and yeah, it was surprisingly good, but that's not saying much. It was the third installment to the Trolls franchise. Let's be real. Then came Kung Fu Panda 4. To me, Kung Fu Panda is the true mascot to DreamWorks. Shrek may have put them into the fold, but Kung Fu Panda has had consistent and spectacular success, both financially and critically. But now we have the fourth film. And going into this one, I knew it wasn't going to be as good as 1 or 2, but at least a fun time, which I did. But after leaving the theaters and taking some time thinking about it, this was pretty disappointing, actually. Don't get me wrong, this is a perfectly fine, play it safe, fun adventure with beloved characters and old ones and new ones, but that's kind of the problem. It's nothing more than a fun adventure, which is fine, if this were a different franchise. But this is Kung Fu Panda we're talking about. I would expect a bit more from this. The perfect example for what I can say why this movie is disappointing is compared to its villain, the Chameleon. I like Viola Davis's performance, and she plays the Chameleon very well, but after the movie and looking back at the other previous villains in the franchise, she's not that threatening or a challenge for Po compared to the other villains. Her transformations are cool and visually appealing, but it's nothing more than just flash and no substance. I think the perfect example of why she's disappointing is kind of her introduction, which kind of, brings up all the problems with this. Her introduction is basically her just threatening some gangsters and pushing one down the stairs, and that's really about it. And compare that to all the other villains. You imagine Tai Lung's impossible escape, where it looked like he had no way out, but somehow he just busted through the doors and said, "Nah, tell Shifu I'm coming for his ass." Or Lord Shen with his fierce introduction with his pompous nature, and then straight up killing Master Rhino with his cannon. That was incredible. Hell, even Kai in 3 has a great intro facing off against Oogway in the spirit realm. But with the Chameleon, until the end, when she has the powers of all the other villains, she's only then a threat to Po. I feel if she had powers earlier in the beginning and interacted with Po a little bit more, then we could have had something, but there's not really much to go off with, how intimidating she is, because she's only really intimidating at the end, and that's only for a couple more minutes. And continue on how she's evil and all that stuff, her motivation is very, very not good. Because in the movie, she reveals that she was rejected from being trained in Kung Fu because she was too small. And I question that, because there's a good amount of characters in this franchise who are small. And do I really need to bring up Mantis? But then again, this movie kind of forgot that the Furious Five were a thing. Which then gets into my other point of how this movie basically just forgets stuff just for the sake of plot. There's a moment where Po is meditating and is unable to have inner peace. And I'm thinking to myself, wasn't the whole plot of 2 was Po overcoming the trauma of his past and moving on, where he achieved inner peace? Did you guys just forget that was a thing? Hell, the third movie was basically forgotten besides Lee, which, by the way, Lee and Mr. Ping's subplot, that was kind of funny as hell. I really enjoyed that part of the movie. But in 3, Po learns how to lead and teach, along with going on a journey of self-discovery and accepting who he is. But in 4, he goes I'm not able to teach, I don't know what to do. And I'm thinking to myself, what the hell are you doing at the end of 3? That looks a hell of a lot like teaching to me. Because in 4, he has to give up being the Dragon Warrior, which is a good concept, but it's barely a thing. Also, speaking of plot with Po having to give up being the Dragon Warrior, you basically know that Aquafina is the replacement character for being the Dragon Warrior, because she's the only one that he's teamed up with in the trailers. Because Lord knows the movie forgot the Furious Five were a thing. she's fine, I guess. She has a good backstory and is like kind of funny at times, because Aquafina is a hit or miss for me. Like, she was bad in Raya and the Last Dragon. She was pretty good in Crazy Rich Asians, and she killed me in The Little Mermaid.
Remember my song in the swamp when I was like,
make it stop.
But she was okay in this, I guess. But what I think made me the most upset was the way that this movie marketed itself as the big return of Poe's villains. Like, yes, but actually no, because all the villains besides Tai Lung don't get speaking lines and basically just react to what's going on. Like, I do enjoy Tai Lung's interactions with Poe, but like, come on, man. Can you imagine the reunion between Poe and Lord Shen? But I think the absolute worst crime of this movie is that they didn't have the Furious 5 until the credits. The credits, man. Like, are you kidding me? But I guess overall, like, this was a decent adventure for the Kung Fu Panda. It doesn't live up to the standards I have for this series, but at least it was fun. This is like a reasonable, like, 6 out of 10. I'm excited for the Wild Robot. That seems like very interesting and could be a standout for DreamWorks. But, you know, I'm not holding my breath, especially with the last 3 films that DreamWorks has released. Puss in Boots 2, you're giving me hope, man. DreamWorks, man, you're killing me, Smalls. You're killing me. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And do remember, I'm Black Dove Reviews. I reviewed it, so you don't have to.
Just the right amount of spice.
Oh, I've been having dreams about Maracas. I don't know what it means.